I've been working with eating disorders for over 15 years at this point, and I love the work that I do. You know, the folks that come in to work with me are usually brilliantly intelligent, kind, and just aren't able to apply that kindness to themselves. So part of this journey in coming in and seeking services here is helping folks in not only repairing their relationship with food, their body and exercise, but also with themselves, so that they can actually enjoy life and thrive because they're no longer worried about how they view themselves and if others see the same awful, terrible things that they imagine to be true within themselves. How we do that is we provide a variety of services. Of course, there's individual therapy, and we have nutrition therapy here that's different from your typical dietitian. It's very much so emphasizing a intuitive relationship with food. Is one of the examples that I talk about with folks is that if I go swimming in a pool and I start from one end of the pool, go underwater and go to the other end, I come up, I'm gonna gasp for air, right? And I don't judge or critique myself for that because I trust my body to regulate its breathing. And if I've deprived my body of oxygen, of course, I'm going to be gasping for air for a little while until my body has enough oxygen to keep doing what it needs to be doing. And my hope for the folks that come into our clinic is that they begin to build that same trust with themselves of paying attention to hunger, fullness cues so they know when to eat and when they're full. And it kind of just is repairing that relationship. Equally so with exercise, right? Exercise, yes, is needed for us to be in the greatest state of health, but our attitude about exercise also matters. We want to enjoy the movement. We want it to be additive to our life, not just for the fitness benefit. So it's a whole process in changing the way that we view the behaviors that we engage in and why, right? And one of the things that I feel is important to understand in coming into our clinic and seeking services is that a lot of times folks see eating disorders in their most intense form, which of course, if somebody is struggling with a severe eating disorder, we would hope that they would seek help and support around those issues. But it's not just for someone that meets diagnostic criteria for bulimia or anorexia or binge eating disorder. There's, disordered eating can be disruptive to our lives as well. I kind of think of it as a continuum, right? Over here we have our intuitive eaters, folks that eat when they're hungry, stop when they're full. They don't regulate whether or not they can or cannot have some food because it's a good or bad food. They exercise for the enjoyment of it, all of those sorts of things. And then over on this side, we have folks with a diagnosable eating disorder. But then there's the middle, right? Where a lot of us actually live, because we live in a culture of dieting and not trusting our body and, oh, should I eat this food or that food? And, instead of letting our body help guide what we do and do not eat. So not that dieting is bad for everyone, but especially if that's taking up a lot of energy, time, emotional effort to regulate what you're doing with food or exercise, and especially if it's causing you stress, then it could be worth seeking services here in our clinic. One of the other things that we have started to implement here that I'm really excited about is group therapy. And that's both process-oriented group therapy, skill building, right? So what different coping skills can be helpful in this recovery process, right? And part of an eating disorder is that the eating behavior helps soothe and regulate emotion. Well, folks need another way to regulate their emotions. So we want to teach them healthy coping strategies in that regard. And we're also offering meal groups. So it can be anxiety provoking for someone with an eating disorder to eat with other people and also to even sit with a complete plate that has a full meal as opposed to just a snack size meal. And getting that practice there, exposure therapy, is really important when trying to heal from an eating disorder. So we're excited that that started. And as we continue to grow, we're also going to be offering services in a complete program. So intensive outpatient programming, which is 3 hours for 3 days a week, so 9 hours total. It has to include one meal on each of those days, and then a combination of individual therapy, nutrition therapy, or individual therapy. And then the partial hospitalization programming is much more intense. It's kind of like a full-time job where someone may need to come in with that level of support because they're not able to manage their eating. And that would involve a minimum of 5 hours of services 5 days a week, where there's going to be 2 meals a day, 2 individual therapy sessions a week, 1 nutrition session a week, 1 family session a week, and then a whole variety of groups. So we're really excited to be expanding and growing in that way.